This is Kelly Hill, technology reporter for RCR Wireless News. I'm here today with Frank Yue of F5. And Frank, you are going to be speaking at the conference this afternoon. We're at LTE North America. Can you give us some key takeaways that you're going to address today?
Yes, Kelly, thank you. What I'm talking about today is I'm talking about NFV and SDN and how it's evolving the networks for today for the service provider, and give it kind of an understanding of what are some key takeaways and some key bullet points on what's essential for you to understand as you migrate to this NFV and SDN and virtualization network. And some of the key things I want to mention is, number one, virtualization is just the first step in enabling NFV. Having a software solution on COTS hardware is the foundation, and really enabled and the benefits of NFV, and the benefits of NFV being agility and elasticity in this cloudification of this core network, is really to be able to get the management and orchestration between all the different elements required for NFV, from the hypervisor, the COTS hardware, and the other VNFs, the virtual network functions, to work together in an automated and an efficient manner based on the service provider policy.
That sounds like a pretty complicated undertaking.
It is a huge undertaking. So service providers are going to be very challenged on trying to figure out how to roll out NFV into their network. It's a very complex process, and what we need to do is we need to take baby steps. Just like any other technology and rolling it out. Similar to what we did with IPv6, where when we enabled IPv6 in our network, we turned it on one router. And then we turned it on a second router, and we had them talk to each other, and we slowly bleed it out to extend to the rest of the network. We want to do the same thing with virtualization and NFV. Find very simple, functional use cases where you can make NFV and this virtualization work. For example, we strongly believe that it makes sense to start looking at the SGI network. Where you can do consolidation in the SDN network of all these different functions, such as your PCF policy enforcement, your security with your firewall, carrier-grade NAT, your service chaining and traffic steering, and start bringing that together. And then look at your value-added services and start virtualizing them where a lot of them already are software-based models, and incorporate the management and orchestration to deliver a nice, flexible, dynamic environment for these value-added services in the SGI. And once you start getting that done, that's your core. And then you start looking at other parts of the network, like your control plane for your signaling, for your diameter routing infrastructure, and your policy control, and expand from there. And from the control plane now, you can start looking at other pieces of the network, maybe the access layer, the radio, the eNode Bs, and other pieces which maybe come on later on. But start easy, start small, find use cases that are benefits, and then expand from there. The other key takeaway here is that NFV in this virtualization model is not designed for every component in your network. It will be a hybrid network where you're going to have proprietary hardware because of performance reasons, functionality reasons, the other pieces. And there will be pieces, again, which you can virtualize, and you're going to have to make sure that those pieces play together, because you will have a combined network with this proprietary hardware and virtualized infrastructure working together.
So then, where does orchestration fit into that? Because it sounds like it's going to be important to make sure that not only interoperability, but the orchestration works the way that it needs to.
The management and orchestration is critical. This is where it all comes together, and you need the APIs for all these different elements that you have, these VNS, virtual network functions, the hypervisors, and the components that you can talk to them. But the management and orchestration is really going to bring it all together. Really what you ideally want is you want some sort of heuristics engine that can collect the information from these disparate elements from different vendors that have different models in terms of what they do in the network. Hardware, software, it could be network-based, could be storage-based, it could be these different function-based, load balancing, or other types of functions. And then have it understand what the topology of the network is, understand how it's being affected, so if there is an action that needs to be taken because there's congestion in part of the network, it can now tell the network and these network components to say, I need to steer traffic here, or I need to spin up more resources there to get the traffic to working and keep the network alive. And this management and orchestration, ideally, is going to be automated. So you're going to have service provider policies that you define within the management and orchestration, and then it knows based on what it sees to be able to interact back into the infrastructure to be able to make these changes in automatic fashion so we can remove that human element.